and seen full-on total of 39 Bigfoot. Over that time, my first encounter happened when I was 16 years old. Deer hunting with my dad. First time he ever let me go by myself. Played football. I was the rough tumble kid. Nobody could take me down. But for 3 minutes, I looked at an 8-foot tall Bigfoot that I called Scar. And the reason is because he had this scar that come down across his left eye and down his cheek. That encounter started with 3 does running out behind a boulder. And they were winded. They stopped probably 15 yards away from me, breathing heavy, watching their back trail. I'm a whitetail deer hunter. You know, this is what I was taught from the time I was 4 or 5 years old with my father and uncles, and you know, that was kind of ingrained in me. That to me meant there's a whitetail buck chasing. It's that time of year. It's December 3rd, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, between 2:30 and 3. And at that point, they took off, and I could hear what sounded like a buck grunting come from behind a boulder that was 7 foot tall. I measured the boulder. It is exactly 7 feet from the top of the boulder to the ground. This Bigfoot at this time was between 7.5 and 8 foot. And it came out from behind that boulder, and at that point, it stopped. It's 20 feet away. 16-year-old kid, 20 feet. I should have been froze or ran or something, but I didn't. I had an older brother that was in the military. I had a brother-in-law that was in the military. My dads and my uncles. They taught me, you know, you got to have nerves of steel when you're out there doing it. And that's what I was taught. I was taught the old way. And at that point, it stood there and looked at me. It finally turned and looked at me with surprise upon his face. And if anybody tells you a Bigfoot can't have a facial expression, oh yes they can. Every one of them, if they get surprised by me, they have a facial expression. And clearly, it tells you that they are surprised or that. At that point, it dropped out of the surprise, curled its lip, started growling at me, baring its teeth. And at this point, I'm a minute and a half into this thing. I'm a 16-year-old kid, never heard of Bigfoot. I seen Boggy Creek the year before, first time, ever. And that was on a Saturday night, watching it with my dad. And the whole time, it was, oh, that's just hard. Don't worry about it. Okay, Dad. So it finally turned towards me, still growling at me, baring its teeth, staring at me. And at this point, what clicked in my head at 16 was, it's going to eat me. I had a 30-30 Model 94 Winchester at safety car, which is halfway. It took a step towards me. It covered 5 feet with one step. Now it's at 15 feet. And at 15 feet, I was scared. Didn't show it, but I was scared. My insides were pretty much quivering at this point. So at that point, I cocked the hammer back on that rifle. And when I did, it was mid-step and it stopped. It stood there on one leg. It stopped growling at me, it closed its lips, and then it started that twisting and trying to find out, because I don't know how anybody says that at the time of their head. I've never seen one in 40 plus years them actually turning their head like we can. And on this Bigfoot, I think it was a combination of him being surprised and him hunting. I was in his hunting area. It was not the other way around. He was hunting. He was doing a push to other Bigfoot in that area. And after he figured out the best way to go was go back behind the boulder, he ran off about 200 feet. There's a point that comes down, there's a holler here, there's a holler here. He cut up the left hollow. I couldn't see him, but he got probably 200 yards away when he stopped running, and I stopped hearing the footfalls and the leaves. This is December in the state of West Virginia. You know, there's leaves everywhere. I mean, everything's down at that point, and it was 60 degrees. That's an unusual winter for West Virginia. And at that point, I got up and I made my way up to the road. I was 2 benches down from the top. I got back up to the road. When I got on the road and my boots hit the rocks, it hurted and it screamed from 200 yards away. I could feel it in the front of my vest, the orange vest was vibrating through me. At that point in time, I did the fastest walk I've ever done for a mile to get to my dad. Once I got to my dad, I just looked at him. Now, I wasn't much smaller than what I am now, maybe 40 pounds lighter. I was a big kid. I was fully grown by 16. I haven't grown in since maybe this one. But anyway, I got to my dad, and my dad looked at me, and he said, "What was that noise?" I don't want to talk about it. And my dad looked at me. He didn't talk like that to my dad. It's not allowed. When I was a kid, I mean, kids do it nowadays. My kids do it to me once in a while, and I still want to grab them up by the shirt collar and sling them from somewhere. You know, they're all grown. But you're not supposed to talk to your dad. That was a no-no back then. And Dad looked at me. He said, "What is wrong with you?" "Nothing, Dad. I want to go home." "We're not going home. We're in deer hunting. I want to go home. I'm not hunting." I walked over to the back of the K5 Blazer we had. Opened the back window up, emptied the rifle, put it in its case, threw the bullets in the case, which is a no-no. We're supposed to go back in the box. And I got out, walked away from the back, and got in the passenger seat. Didn't take my vest off, didn't take my hat off, none of the blaze orange. And he walks over and goes, "You're determined to go home?" "Yeah, Dad, I'm going to go home." And at that point, I was starting to tear up. And my dad looked at me and said, "Okay." He put his gun away, got everything ready, shut the door on the blazer, rolled the window, and he looked at me and he said, "All right, we're going home." And halfway back out to where I topped the hill, I rolled the window up, locked the door, and slid into the floorboard. My dad said, "What is wrong with you? What happened?" I'm not talking about it. So for an hour, my dad tried to get me to talk. That didn't work. We got back to the interstate, which is I-77, at the Fairplain exit, which is exit 132. And he pulled over the side of the road. My dad wears a leather belt like I do. He pulled that leather belt off. And he opened his driver's door, coming around the passengers. I'm still on the floor. I'm I'm down there crying, and I'm begging him, Dad, I don't want to talk about it. He opened the door. He said, you're going to tell me what happened. Did you shoot somebody? Did you shoot a deer that you weren't supposed to? What happened? Dad, I didn't shoot anything. All my bullets are in the case. Every one of them. He gave me 8 bullets. That was in their rifle. 7 in the chamber, 1 in the chamber and 7 in the rifle. And he looked at me and he said, what happened? And I started telling him. At the end of it, my dad looked at me and he said, son, I believe you. You've never lied to me ever before. You're not going to lie to me ever. I know you. I raised you and I believe you. And I said, Dad, are there more than things out here? He said, son, I can't tell you. There's a reason. After that happened, I took about 4 or 5 years forever went back in the woods. And then when I went back in the woods, I started chasing these things. I'd go out and listen to them scream. I would go out and talk to people. And what he was saying about talking to people out here, it don't only happen in Pennsylvania. It happens in Ohio, Kentucky, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia. Those are 7 states out of Bigfoot. It happens everywhere else. I've been to Indiana Bigfoot. And there's Bigfoot in Indiana. You wouldn't think so. You think of Indiana, it's flat, not a lot of woods. Wrong. They don't need that much woods or that much coverage to hide from us. We're too busy in our everyday lives driving down the road. One could be standing right beside the road and you would never notice it. You have to actively look for the Bigfoot to find it. But in 2018, my dad, I came home from work. I'd been out on the road. My wife was, she was still at work. It was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday. My dad said, come in here and sit down. I thought something was wrong with my dad. No. Do you remember back when you were a kid, about 6 years old? How are you going to remember something like that unless it gives you a specific thing to trigger? Okay, Dad, I'm with you so far. Tell me what's going on. You remember that time your mother brought you and your brother trying to find me and your Uncle Benny? Yes, sir. I remember that. Mom was mad. She didn't want Dad going out and going fishing with Mom. She wanted him to stay home. Dad didn't listen to Mom. Dad didn't want Mom. Dad wanted not what Mom wanted. And that weekend, him and my uncle camped on Little Canal River at Low Water Bridge. If you go to West Virginia and go to Elizabeth and ask somebody where Low Water Bridge is, they can direct you to it. They were there in a Mountaineer camper that slides in the back of a pickup. My dad had a 3/4 ton green Chevrolet, and that's what he hauled. They were there catfishing. Perfect place to catfish, Houston. And at about 3 o'clock in the morning, they had a fire outside, and something very large walked between the camper and the fire they had right there on the bridge. And my dad said they opened the window, pulled the drape back, and looked, and it was what he said to me was it was the legend of Boggy Creek. Exactly what he said. Long haired, looked exactly like the legend of Boggy Creek. And I said, Dad, why didn't you tell me that all them years ago? He said, son, you would never believe it. I said, Dad, I just saw it. I would have believed you. He said, well, do you know what they are? I said, Dad, I know what they are. I've studied them for by this point, close to 30 years, 35 years. And in that time frame of 35 years, I watched a clan of 5 expand to a clan of 9. I was there every week, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times a week watching. They had little ones. They accepted me at a distance. It didn't mean I could walk over and shake their hand. That meant if I got any closer than 75 yards, the big female would throw a fit and the big male would run me off. So I always made sure that I stayed at a certain distance. Watched them from daylight till dark when they come out of the cave. And for that period of time, I learned a lot. I learned their habits. I learned what they do. They like to eat. So over that time, I started applying that with help from other people, telling me their stories, their encounters. Now I go out and we do howls, kind of well known for one howl in particular, and everybody's going to laugh at the name of it. It is called by my friend Constipated Hillbilly. I don't typically do that around people. There's a lot of people around, 3 or 4 people at the most, that I trust. Because it is an aggressive call, and it does make the big males ticked off. They will come in throwing rocks, tree limbs, push trees over, everything. They will demonstrate and try to run you out of there, and if that don't work, they will run you out of there. They will chase you there. So,
but you can't get loud after she gets here.
Sure, not a problem. It's no problem at all. But for this past 40 years of doing this, it has been nothing but fun. It's fun to go out and chase them, listen to them at night, and it's fun to go out and try to figure out where they live. All of it's fun. There is one warning I give to everybody. Do not go out and do something stupid or try to get them to come closer to you by doing something that will make them mad. And there's a lot that we do in normal everyday life that ticks these creatures off to no end. And if they come in and they start throwing rocks at you, turn around and walk out. If they come in and start growling at you, walk out. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Because if you hesitate, it's just going to make them angry. And once they reach a certain point, they will push you out of it, whether you want to go or not. That means they will come over and they will charge you. And if it's an alpha male charging you, it's not going to stop. He's going to run on top of you. So be careful what you do when you go out there. It's fun. We have a great time. Here in a few weeks, I'm going to be in Saltport, in Ohio. And that's well known for Bigfoot activity. And it's the time of year my wife, here 3 years ago, or is this 4?
It was in 2021.
21?
Mm-hmm.
So it's 4 years this year.
August.
She saw 3 little ones in the campground. 15 minutes later, we saw the big female. Next night, I got up after roughly 20 people telling me, "Oh, we need you to do your call. We need you to do that call." My wife finally looked at me and said, "Go ahead." Now, I'm armed when I'm there. I have a sidearm. It's no match for a Bigfoot. I respect these creatures. I don't try to harm them unless they try to harm me. If they threaten someone that's with me, I'm very protective. So that Saturday night, after 20 people And then 21 people, that little 5 foot tall stick of dynamite right there, said, go ahead and do your call. I got up and did one call, constipated hill. That Bigfoot came in stomping its feet, growling every breath. He came in and came to the edge of the campground, and it was mad. And then I walked towards it and did a simple, rough call, and it stopped, turned, and went around the campground, across Parker Road into the swamp on the other side, and started up the big hill. That was the last time I did my call for more than 3 or 4 people. I don't do that call very often. But this year, I've been ordered already that this camp out, and here in a couple of weeks, I'm doing my call. So, I hope y'all enjoyed going out Bigfooting. I hope you had fun. And if you got questions, go right ahead and ask. My name?
Yeah, what's your name and your YouTube channel?
Old Bears, Den of Bigfoot.
So you're saying they're eating. What are you observing them eat?
They are omnivores. They eat all kinds of roots, plants, ants, grasshoppers, butterflies. They eat coon, possum, skunk. That's hard to stomach. They eat white-tailed deer. They'll eat any animal that's out there, including the bear. Bears are predator. They will hunt bear.
What specific vegetation?
Huh?
What specific groups are you seeing?
The specific groups of Bigfoot that I'm seeing,
Yeah.
the human type, the Cro-Magnon type, I've seen.
Oh, I meant the type of vegetation groups that you
Roots.
see. The vegetation with
Ginseng, they eat ginseng together, it and eat it. I guess it does something for their system. The yellow root, rhubarb, basically any root we can eat.
Did you have a question, Liz? Did you have a question for Ben?
You said you carry sidearm. Just out of curiosity, what do you carry?
When my wife is there, I carry a 10 millimeter. When my wife's not there, I carry a 500.
There's just always a debate on what.
I carry the small one because I do not push it when she's there.
Yeah.
When I'm by myself, I tend to push it. I push my own. So I might need something to get me out.
Everybody says 44 Magnum is last.
44 Magnum is a joke.
Yeah.
Sorry.
45 works just fine. That's been left 100 years.
I understand that, but you got to think about a Bigfoot's body construction. Think about yours. Your chest, you got 1 layer of muscle. They've got 5. Their bones are not hard. Their bones are 90% solid. There's reason.
Just saying, I mean, if you've seen all these over the years, why didn't you get shot at in the 60s?
There are 3 less Bigfoot in this world. I had to say something.
Bring them out into the public because it really needs to be exposed. Because you watch TV for the last 10 years about Bigfoot hunting. Oh, whatever, but get close. You know, it's just TV.
Well, they
it's
don't.
drama. It's TV.
Here's the thing about those people.
This is real life you're talking about.
No, here's the thing about people on TV. They go out, they tree knock, they do things to scare the Bigfoot off. They don't go out and try to interact with them. They go out to scare them off. That's what their job is. Television. It's just to make a TV show. Whatever you got to do to get some kind of a noise on the TV is what they do. Going out and Bigfooting is not, that is not what you do. And when it comes to these creatures, they do predate upon human beings. Certain types of them do.
That's
That's why I carry the phone. Yes.
Any other questions for Bear? Yes.
What did you do with the bodies?
Well, a farmer in Ohio buried 3. 2 of them I had to shoot, one a state trooper shot, and he buried them 20 feet into the ground underneath his new barn. The other one, he went and tried to grab my friend's fiancée. She was a blonde, and he decided he liked her. He reached out to grab her. I saw it. It was this far, grabbing her hair. When I squeezed the trigger, it happened. We got out of there, we went back the next day, the body was gone. So the clan came to God.
Where did you shoot in the head and eye, or?
You don't shoot them in the chest unless you
No,
tip them off.
that's what I'm saying. Where did you shoot?
Right through here.
Yeah.
But I had a 300 windmill.
Oh, okay, well,
That makes a big difference.
Any SUVs left?
I have been pulled over. I'm a truck driver by trade. I have been pulled in at 3 different times for an inspection. I never got inspected. They just took my paperwork. You walked inside, the other guy walked out. You need to quit what you're doing.
Yes.
And that's what they'll tell you. You need to stop doing what you're doing. Don't put the truth out about this speech. If you don't stop, we're going to cause you problems. And all I tell them is check my record. You know who you're doing.
Bear, real quick question from me. And my question, why the decision to bury him and not get him to the authorities? Would that have made a difference?
What authorities am I going to take it to?
Right? I mean, you said you had a state trooper with you. Did they give you any advice on what to do, or just kind of?
He told me plain and simply from the inside of state police what they have been told. If they find one on the side of the road dead, or hit by a car or a tractor trailer or whatever, they're called their barracks, their superior. The superior has been called Washington, D.C.
Because that's one of the big questions, right? Why don't we find the dead one? Why don't we find him on the side of the road? And we can't answer that question. You know, I mean, it's a great mystery is what happens. A lot of thought is what you're talking about there, right? Like that they're collected by something or someone, and I'm sure there's reasons for that we're not told.
I mean,
Right.
there's one main reason that I have figured out over all these years, and it's called money.
Yeah.
If Bigfoot is found to be 100% proved, every national forest, every state forest, every city park, anywhere there's woods, no more camping, hunting, fishing,
Tracking,
hiking,
paper, lumber.
nothing.
Right.
It all shuts down. Because the first thing that's going to happen, somebody's going to run to the U.S. courts and they're going to file an injunction and they're going to stop it all right then and there. Because they're going to say this creature's in danger. It's not in danger. They're just really good at keeping themselves away. We've had thousands of years of this.
And that's where it goes, you know, folks often try to throw that into the realm of conspiracy, right? If it's protocol, is it conspiracy? Right? If there is an actual reason for it, and you know, we know this country is really based on economics.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else, we're a capitalist system. As much as we like to feel good and everything else, it's a capitalistic society. Once we start putting a dampener on those activities, a lot of people making a lot of money are very upset. And you know, that's always been my answer to it years. Audiences like this, well, why isn't there a body? Well, nobody said there's not a body. We've already been told that the Smithsonian has bones and skeletons that have never been seen by normal people. And why is that? Well, now you have a reason. And it, you know, for some folks that may be an excuse, but you know, what's the difference between an excuse and a reason? You're just a wasteman. You know, either's the same thing, right? And so that's why I wanted to ask Bear, you know, and we've dealt with people that have worked in fish and game that have come out and reported their own sightings. park rangers that have reported their own sightings, that they can't go into their own people to do it because they'll be dismissed. They'll be kicked off, or they'll be made fun of endlessly to the point where they'll want to leave.
As a park ranger, you're told one time, first time you see one of these creatures, you go in and tell your supervisor. You're told, do not talk about it. If you see nothing, don't speak. If you speak, you're automatically fired. You're never going to be in any kind of law enforcement across the United States. You're blackballed instantly. And then you got people following you around. I've had people follow me. And it's not us. It's people that are in khaki pants, just a pullover shirt, and combat boots.
Organization do you think that is?
Huh?
What organization do you think that is?
Name one. You need the alphabet soup that's in Washington, D.C.
Well, yeah. What specifically do you?
It used to be NSA. Everybody said the NSA was, all they did was listen to your phone conversations, for terrorist activity. No, they don't. They have a wing of the NSA that.
Do you feel that with the NSA?
I have a friend that works there.
Pardon me?
I have a very good friend that works there.
Yes. What was a specific kill team or team?
Well, that's military. That's special forces.
Okay, that's
That's SEALs, Green Berets, recon.
You're not. Okay, that's fine.
I just want to add something to this. It's not something that I saw, but hi, I'm Bernadette, and I run a group in Bucks County, and my partner in this group is named Greg. And he had an experience by the Delaware Water Gap back in the 80s. He's a chiropractor, a mayor, he's a stand-up guy, Coast Guard guy. Just to add on to this, he went to the Pentagon one time because his cousin was retiring as an admiral or something like this. And he swears that he was inside the Pentagon and one of those inner rings was walking around, after the ceremony, Office of Bigfoot Research, inside the Pentagon. So I just wanted to add that they know it, the Pentagon.
Bernadette, we're part of her group in Bucks County.
You're my group.
I worked for Kinko's years ago, and I was one of the few that had security clearance because I was at Willow Grove Air Base. And there was a room we weren't allowed to go into. We were archiving all of their paper documents, and there was like an unexplained wing we weren't allowed to go into. So there's DOD knows what's going on too.
Where did you say?
Pentagon, the DOD.
The Pentagon
Yeah.
also, okay.
Yeah, I'm ex-military, and I had a very high clearance when I was in. There are people that are in the government that are bureaucrats that have a higher clearance than the United States president. He's supposed to be top of the heap, but he's not. He don't know everything. I've got guys that I train for boot camp that are FBI, Homeland Security, NSA, CIA, shoot, I don't remember all the stupid alphabets. But anyways, these guys all told me in confidence that the government knows about Bigfoot. They know everything there is to know about a Bigfoot. They've dissected them. They've taken them apart. They've tested all the DNA, everything. The reason they don't tell us, it's all about money. If that money stops, the federal government loses billions, trillions of dollars. Trillions of dollars will make anybody stand up and take notice and cover something up. So you're not going, the only way you're going, and I hate to say this, only way you're ever going to get a Bigfoot brought to the forefront and make science take notice. What's the capital city? Harrisburg?
Yeah, Harrisburg.
Go out. You're going to have to harvest a Bigfoot. You're going to get lucky to get it out of there. The Klan's going to try to take it away from you. If you get it out of there, get it back to pickup, drive to the very center of Harrisburg, tie a chain around its leg, tie it to a light post, throw your truck, get the truck, throw it in gear, and drive off. Truck it out in the middle of the street. There's your proof. That's when Bigfoot will come to the forefront. That's when science will take heed. Right now, science can't take heed. They lose money. There ain't a scientist out there that's going to get federal dollars at some point. And I hate to say that, and it's the only way you're going to get people that sit in the side of the cities all the time. The only time they've ever been outside the cities when they got on the interstate and went from Harrisburg to Pittsburgh. It's the only time. Everybody's just laughs at us. I've been laughed at for 40 years. I don't care anymore. I'll plain and simply tell you the truth. What I know, how I know, I don't care. It don't do any good to hide it. Because everybody's going to laugh at you. They're going to try to make fun of you. Because they don't. They sit there behind their computer and think everything they see on the computer is 100% real. That's not real. Go out there and find out. There's stuff out there you don't want to play with.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of don't give an F you have to have to do this. Yeah. Right? It really is. And you know, listen, not all of us are all on the same level. You know, obviously Bear's had a lot more success than I have. But it doesn't mean that there's not some common ground and consensus on some of this. Like, and I'm a little bit more realistic about things. Yeah, some of it's hard to stomach, right? Like, oh, here we go, talking about government agencies, blah, blah, blah. You know, the longer you're in this, you realize that there's a lot more against you than there is for you. I have found a very particularly interesting piece of evidence with Tim Cassidy, he's a wildlife biologist. A friend of mine, he and I were out down in Keystone State Forest. And it looked like a tooth. No shit, looked like a big, canned tooth. And so we take it, we're out talking, park rangers go by. Hey, what are you guys looking at? Let us show you. And what we knew to be a tooth, he's like, well, that's a deer hoof cord. You ever heard of a thing? A deer hoof cord?
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't look like a deer hoof cord. It looked like a big ass tooth. He's like, well, here, why don't you, let us see that. Of course, you see it, we're talking. They go away. Tim and I are still talking. They took the damn tooth with them. Silly, we're just having a conversation. They go off and then realize they took the damn tooth with them. For something that was so unimpressive as a deer hoof cord.
They think we're stupid.
Right, and they took it. And
Let me ask you a question. That tooth that you found was
a little bigger than
kind of rectangular.
this one was a little bit more pointed, like it was an actual canid tooth. It looked like ours was big. Yeah, it looked big. And it was taken. And look, guys, I'm not one of the interdimensional people. I'm a very big flesh and blood proponent. I'm, big on science. But I'll tell you, stuff happens. And a lot of that comes with no explanation or just stupid moments where you should be thinking a little clearer. Oh, you're talking to this guy, and next one, that's gone. You took my evidence, and that happens. And so you get a little bit more guarded and protective. And sometimes you just don't know, what you're dealing with or who you're dealing with. The person you could be standing next to talking with. You're out there doing these, or people that want to join your groups. They could be somebody trying to pay attention to what you're doing, right? Not to throw paranoia out there, because we don't need that either, but you don't know, right? And you have to be thoughtful about those things. And so when you don't get specifics and guarding, like I know Beverly's not going to share his areas for obvious reasons. I'll take people to some of the areas we research. I won't take them to the areas that are really good unless we can trust you. Plus we both have had friends that think it's cool to take people to your area when you're not there. And that messes up everything you've been working on, right? And so there's a lot working against you when you're in this research, aside, from everybody thinking initially from the onset that you're crazy to begin with.
You have to be somewhat crazy.
You do have to be a little nuts, but I'll tell you, anybody that's made a joke of it and has sat down and talked to me longer than 5 minutes has left the conversation with a different attitude. They've left it with, oh, you're really serious about this. Yeah, I am. Because this impacts people. And people are seeing something, and we're going around telling 250,000 people they're crazy, or how many sightings we're up to now. When you start having that many people see those things, you can only keep things secret for so long. I give kudos to the fact they've been able to keep this one. It's probably a really ill-kept secret, honestly, with have people seen it. And like he said, the television shows are just there for entertainment. They're not there to teach anything. They're there to entertain you. So they're fun, but unless you do it.
The funnest part that I've ever done as a Bigfoot investigator / reacher, whatever you want to call me, go right ahead, I don't care. The biggest thing I've ever done, I had a guy come in, I was at a small Bigfoot show where we had footprints, pictures, all the whole 9 yards. Guy come in and said, "Oh, that's fake." I said, "It is." "Okay, want me to show you how it got faked?" "Yeah." "All right, come on." It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I put him in my truck. I drove 10 miles down the road and then drove back on top of the ridge. And waited until it was almost dark, got out of the truck, did one hour. Simple. No big deal. 10 seconds later, his pants were wet and they were soiled. That's the most fun I've ever had. Tell me I'm alive. I'll prove you wrong one way or another. But that was fun to me. And that was when I was younger and had a sadistic type of mentality all the time. Nowadays I don't do it.
Thankfully he's mellowed. Any other questions for us? It's lunchtime, so we're going to let you guys up and get around and stretch some legs, get something to eat, smoke them if you got them. All right. Class dismissed. We'll see you back at 1 o'clock with the lovely and talented Amy Good. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Bear. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.